A cafe in Melbourne is protesting the gender pay gap like we've never seen before.
I'm not sure protest is the right word there, mate. They've certainly taken the law into their own hands, and I am amazed this doesn't violate some kind of discrimination law.
One week out of every month, men pay an 18% premium. The tax is optional, but so far, no male customers refused.
Yeah, well, when you're being publicly shamed by a cafe full of women, the majority of people will be shamed into paying that 18%. And I imagine there are a few people, like me, who would say in the most manly voice I could muster, "Yeah, sorry darling, I'm trans. I identify as a bird, so I don't really need to pay."
If people aren't comfortable with paying it or men don't want to pay it, we're not going to kick them out the door. Like, it's just a good opportunity to do some good.
Do good for whom? For the women that eat there? And while I assume you wouldn't kick a man out of the door as you wouldn't physically be able to do it, I do imagine you wouldn't welcome him back next time.
The cafe, called Handsome Her, also has priority seating for women.
Of course it has. I'd be amazed if the seating wasn't sitting on the backs of the male customers because my wage gap. Again, why the hell is this place not being sued through the arse for discrimination? If this was in reverse, and women were being charged more, and men had priority seating, there would be hell to pay. And if you go back to the civil rights movement, this was the case for blacks. Why is it suddenly okay now?
Welcome to Handsome Her, where women reign supreme.
Oh dear God, isn't that feminist's wet dream?
This is called the Wall of Dames, so it's a wall of inspirational women.
There's not a whole bunch of pictures up on that wall. Just being picky, or are there not that many inspirational women?
Owner Alexandra O'Brien calls it a space for women by women, with priority seating for females and an extra tax for men.
With this wage gap bullshit they keep doubting, I highly doubt many of their staff are going to die in the highly dangerous environment of a cafe. And in the unlikely event that it does burn down, and they do need male firefighters to come in and rescue them, I very much hope out of spite they take 18% longer to rescue that owner.
1 week out of every month we have an 18% premium for men, which is the same amount as the gender pay gap.
There is no gender pay gap. There is a gender earnings gap. There's an earnings gap because fuckwits who decide that beauty courses, gender studies courses, African studies courses and lesbian dance theory courses are going to give them high-paying jobs after uni. And frankly, if they think that, they deserve to be a minimum wage barista.
I think it's fair if you think about the world and the gender inequality that we have.
We have great gender equality as it is. But of course it's not good enough for you because you don't get to walk to work on a path paved with the skulls of men.
I think it's a brilliant idea because I don't think that many people know the actual gap.
Right, why not ask the customer with the same IQ as the temperature of her drink in Celsius? A lot of people don't know about the existence of the gap because it's so heavily misrepresented. It's presented as a wage gap, as men and women doing even work and women being paid less for it. And if that was the case, it would be a problem. But that's not the case. It's men doing higher paid, tougher, more dangerous work and getting paid more generally because of hazard pay. It's an earnings gap, not a wage gap.
The tax is optional, but so far none of the cafe's male customers have refused to pay it.
Of course not. It's that kind of place, that trendy spot for millennials that don't want to lose face by saying they're not paying your stupid tax. But to any normal person, they'd tell you to roll up that invoice and shove it up your fat feminist arse.
I could wear that, yeah, considering that there is a fair, it's a fairly unequal pay gap between men and women, even though there is supposedly equal pay. It doesn't really equate out there.
Did you ever once stop and think why that might be? Do you think every time a woman applies for a job, the boss rubs his hands together and thinks, yes, another one that I can pay for less? No, because if that was the case, and women were legitimately paid less for the same work, only women would be employed. Employers would love to pay their workforce 77%.
Staff say the gender tax isn't aimed at excluding people, but rather educating them.
You know, I could believe that was the misguided intention if it wasn't for the female priority seating. What exactly is that meant to prove?
With proceeds going to charity.
If people aren't comfortable with paying it or men don't want to pay it, we're not going to kick them out the door. Like, it's just a good opportunity to do some good.
Yeah, all the proceeds going to female-only charities. Because they're the only ones that need help, obviously. There aren't any struggling male charities that could really use the help. And I've noticed now that you've said twice, we're not going to kick them out of the door. To me, that suggests if a man does refuse to pay, you're going to make a scene and attempt to publicly shame the guy for not wanting to pay your extortionate male-only tax. So, lovely viewers, given the absolute retarded business model, what else could you add to this cafe to make it even more misandric? I'll put the answers that make me laugh the most at the end of my next video, and as always, thank you for your time.